The desert sun scorched the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire and blood. Commander Jake Hawk Sullivan, a grizzled Navy SEAL with 20 years of scars etched into his soul, leaned against the Humvee, his eyes scanning the barren Afghan outpost. Dust clung to his boots, and the weight of his M4 carbine felt heavier today, though he couldn't say why. His team had just returned from a grueling night op, neutralizing a high-value target in the mountains, but something in the air felt off electric, like the calm before a storm. As he sipped bitter coffee from a battered tin mug, his gaze landed on her, a lone figure, crouched in the shade of a tent, her hands moving with surgical precision over a Barrett .50 caliber sniper rifle. Her fingers danced across the weapon, cleaning the barrel with a reverence that bordered on sacred. Jake froze. Who was she? A civilian contractor? A local interpreter? No, her posture screamed military, but she wasn't one of his. "Hey, you," he called out, his voice rough from years of barking orders. She didn't flinch, didn't even look up. Instead, she chambered around with a satisfying click and set the rifle down, her movements calm, deliberate, lethal. Jake's gut twisted. This was no ordinary soldier. Before you dive into his story of grit, sacrifice, and the record-breaking shot that stunned the world, hit that subscribe button and join our community of warriors and storytellers. We're just getting started. Jake strode toward her, his boots kicking up clouds of dust. The outpost was a hive of controlled chaos. SEALs debriefing, medics patching up wounds, radios crackling with intel. But this woman, she was an island of calm in the storm. Up close, he saw her clearly, mid-20s, dark hair pulled back tight, eyes like storm clouds, so focused, unyielding. Her fatigues were worn but pristine, her hands calloused but steady. "You mind telling me who you are and why you're handling a Barrett like it's your firstborn?" Jake asked, half expecting a salute or a stammered explanation. Instead, she met his gaze, her voice low and steady. "Sergeant Riley Kane, sir, attached to Task Force Phantom. I clean my own gear." Jake's brow furrowed. Task Force Phantom? He'd heard whispers of classified unit, a shadow team that operated beyond the usual chain of command, but he'd never seen them in the flesh. "You're a sniper?" he asked, his tone skeptical. The Barrett was a beast of 50 pounds of steel and precision, not a weapon most could wield with ease. Riley's lips twitched, not quite the smile. "Something like that," she said, then turned back to her rifle, dismissing him without another word. Jake's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being brushed off, but something about her quiet confidence, the way her hands moved like they'd been born for war, kept him rooted to the spot. That night, in the dim glow of the ops tent, Jake pulled her file. What he read made his blood run cold. Sergeant Riley Kane, 26, former Marine Corps Scout sniper, now a ghost in the system, attached to a Black Ops unit so classified even Jake's clearance barely scratched the surface. Her record was a litany of impossible shots at targets taken out at ranges that defied physics, missions that didn't officially exist. But one number stopped him dead: 3,347 meters, a confirmed kill with a Barrett .50, the longest sniper shot in recorded history. The previous record, set by a Canadian sniper in Iraq, was 3,540 yards or 3,237 meters. Riley had shattered it by over 100 meters, in a howling windstorm, on a moving target, no less. The report was sparse, redacted in places, but the details were chilling. A high-value insurgent leader, a fortified compound, a single shot through a sandstorm that dropped him clean. Jake's hands shook as he closed the file. He'd seen snipers, trained with the best, but this was something else. A legend in the flesh, cleaning her rifle like it was just another day. The next morning, Jake found Riley at the range, zeroing her scope under the relentless sun. He approached cautiously, like a man stepping into a lion's den. "Sergeant Kane," he said, keeping his tone neutral, "I read your file. That 3,347-meter shot, how the hell did you pull it off?" For the first time, she looked at him fully, her eyes searching his, weighing him. Then she shrugged, as if it were nothing. "Math, wind, and a steady hand," she said. "You don't get that far by overthinking." But Jake saw the flicker in her gaze, a shadow of something deeper: pain, maybe, or a memory she didn't want to revisit. he pressed, his curiosity outweighing his caution. "That's not just a shot, that's rewriting history. Why's a shooter like you stuck in a backwater outpost like this?" Riley's face hardened. "Orders," she said curtly, then turned back to her scope. But Jake wasn't done. He needed to know who she was, what drove her, and more than that, he needed her on his team. A sniper like that could turn the tide of their next mission, a high-stakes op to take down a warlord hiding in the mountains, a man responsible for ambushes that had killed dozens of coalition troops. Over the next week, Jake watched Riley like a hawk. She kept to herself, spoke only when necessary, but her presence was magnetic. The other SEALs noticed it too. Whispers spread through the outpost as some called her a ghost, others a weapon. One night, over a game of cards, a young SEAL named Martinez spilled what he'd heard from a buddy in intel. "They say she's cursed," he muttered, glancing over his shoulder as if Riley might materialize from the shadows. "Every mission she's on, her spotter dies. 3 a.m. Gone. Accidents, they say, but nobody buys it." Jake scoffed, but the story gnawed at him. Was that why she was here, alone, cleaning her own gear? He cornered her the next day, blunt as ever. "Is it true about your spotters?" he asked. Riley's hand still on her rifle. For a moment, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "War takes what it wants. I just pulled the trigger." The weight of her words hit him like a punch. This wasn't just a sniper. This was a woman carrying ghosts. The mission came faster than anyone expected. Intel pinpointed the warlord, Mullah Russell, in a remote valley, surrounded by a small army of loyal fighters. The plan was simple but brutal: infiltrate under cover of darkness, neutralize Russell, and extract before dawn. Jake's team was handpicked to 6 SEALs, each a master of their craft, but he wanted Riley. Her record spoke for itself, and that 3,347-meter shot was proof she could hit anything, anywhere. He found her at dusk, loading magazines with the same methodical calm. "I want you on this op," he said. "Overwatch, high ground." "You and?" Riley didn't look up. "You don't want me," she said. "I'm bad luck." Jake bristled. "I don't believe in luck. I believe in skill, and you've got more than anyone I've ever met." She met his eyes then, and for the first time, he saw something real of fear, not of death, but of losing someone else. "You don't get it, Commander," she said. "Everyone who watches my back ends up in a body bag." Jake leaned in, his voice low and fierce. "Then I'll watch your back myself." "You're not cursed, Riley. You're a goddamn force of nature." The night of the op was moonless, the air thick with the promise of violence. Riley took position on a rocky outcrop, 2,800 meters from Russell's compound. Her barrel nestled into her shoulder like an extension of her body. Jake, leading the ground team, moved silently through the valley, his heart pounding not just for the mission but for her. He'd promised to watch her back, but he knew the truth. Riley Kane didn't need protecting. She was the predator, not the prey. As the team breached the compound's outer perimeter, gunfire erupted. Russell's men were ready, their axe lighting up the night. Jake's team returned fire, but they were pinned, taking heavy casualties. Over the comms, Jake heard Riley's voice, calm as ever. "I've got eyes on Russell. He's moving. Second floor, east window." Jake's breath caught. The shot was impossibly 2,800 meters, through a narrow window, in a firefight. "Take it," he growled. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, a single crack split the night, the sound of the Barrett echoing like thunder. Seconds later, Riley's voice came through again. "Target down." Jake's team surged forward, clearing the compound, but Jake's mind was on her. She'd done it again. When they extracted, Riley was waiting at the rendezvous point, her rifle slung across her back, her face unreadable. The team was battered but alive. Russell's death a major blow to the insurgency. But Jake saw the cost in Riley's eyes. She'd taken the shot, saved the mission, but the weight of every shot she'd ever taken was crushing her. Back at the outpost, Jake found her alone, staring at the stars. "You okay?" he asked, knowing it was a stupid question. She didn't answer for a long time. Then, quietly, she said, "I don't sleep much anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see the ones I couldn't save." Jake sat beside her, the silence heavy between them. "You saved us tonight. he said. "That's not nothing." Riley shook her head. "It's never enough." For the first time, Jake saw her not as a legend, but as a persona broken, but still fighting. Days later, Jake learned Riley was being reassigned, her unit pulling her back into the shadows. He found her packing her gear, the Barrett already cased. "You're leaving?" he asked, a pang in his chest he couldn't explain. She nodded. "They don't let me stay anywhere long. Too many ghosts." Jake wanted to argue, to tell her she belonged here, with him, with the team. But he knew better. Riley Kane was a storm, and storms don't linger. As she walked away, her silhouette fading into the dawn, Jake felt a strange mix of awe and loss. She was the best he'd ever seen, but she was gone, carrying her record-breaking shot and her ghosts with her. The outpost felt emptier without her, but her legend grew. Stories of the 3,347-meter shot spread, whispered in barracks and mess halls, a tale of a sniper who defied the impossible. Jake never saw her again, but he carried her story with him, a reminder of the cost of war and the strength it took to keep going. As he stood on the tarmac, watching a chopper lift off into the endless desert sky, he wondered where she was now, who she was saving, who she was haunting. Hey, that's the story of Riley Kane, the sniper who stunned the world. From which part of the country are you watching this video? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear from you.